After my son pushed me down the stairs screaming, "Roll to your death, you useless old woman." I lay there gasping, the world spinning like the fans in this blasted house that had once been a haven but now felt like a prison. The echoes of laughter, where we once shared dreams and silly moments, had turned into hollow reminders of failure, my failure. Alex's face, twisted in rage, left a mark deeper than the bruises forming on my back. I had directed so much love and sacrifice toward him, and yet here we were, two adversaries in a battle sparked by despair and unmet expectations. I staggered to my feet, shaking. The pain shot through me, but it was nothing compared to the heartache that crushed my chest. I had spent a lifetime as a waitress, serving plates and smiles, but now it felt like I was just surviving a shadow haunting the corners of our dilapidated home. Our walls, once brightly painted, now faded and peeling, mirrored our lives, sagging under the weight of bills and broken promises. I was exhausted, drained not just from work, but from trying to build a future for Alex, a future he seemed intent on rejecting. He was slipping away, the distance between us growing like the weeds overtaking the backyard. I watched him retreat into silence, an unbridgeable chasm forming every day I came home exhausted from her best diner, where the clatter of dishes was a sickly serenade to my tiresome routine. I wanted to shake him, to find the young boy lost in that turmoil, but every attempt felt like I was forcing the truth deeper into the ground, burying our connection. There was too much unspoken resentment hanging in the air like the dust swirling in the sunlight. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As I reflected on that fateful night, the tension exploded. Alex, seeing me as nothing more than a burden, unleashed weeks of frustration in a moment of blind rage. I felt like I was crashing to the bottom of an endless pit, the words echoing in my mind, "Useless, old woman." Those words clung to me, trapping me in a reality I never wanted. But I gathered my strength, determined to confront the wreckage of what our lives had become. I reached out to the community, organizing gatherings at the local center, inviting whoever would come. I shared my story and, to my surprise, so many followed, opening their hearts to their own troubles. What started as a gathering of lonely souls became a sanctuary filled with familiar voices. Among them was Alex, hesitant at first, but slowly, he began to emerge from his self-imposed exile. Yet, as we began to heal, shadows lurked behind, reminding me of a truth buried long ago, one that could change everything. What would Alex do if he knew? Would his pride explode again, or could we thread these fragile bonds back together? The clock ticked relentlessly toward that night of revelation, and I held my breath. Would love triumph, or would this shaky foundation crumble again, leaving us trapped in a cycle of despair? The questions hung thick in the air as I stood on the brink, ready to face whatever truth awaited us. The gatherings at the community center became our lifeline. As the weeks rolled by, laughter returned, mingling with the heaviness that still lingered in my heart. Faces of strangers transformed into familiar counterparts, each sharing their burden, breaking down the walls we had all built around our hearts. As I watched, I realized that healing was a slow dance, a rhythm of hope intertwining with lingering sadness. Yet, in this space, I found strength. One evening, as we sat in a circle, the low hum of voices created an ambience that felt both comforting and charged. I could see Alex in the corner, leaning forward, absorbing every word spoken. His younger face had begun to re-emerge, hinting at the boy who once laughed at my jokes, who had believed in the magic of simple moments. His eyes, once dull and lost, glistened slightly, like rays of hope trying to break through a dreary sky. That night, an older gentleman, Frank, shared his story about watching his son spiral down a path of addiction. He spoke of regret, but most importantly, he spoke of redemption. "Nothing's ever too broken to fix," he said, the weight of his experiences odiously clear. Those words hung in the air, hanging heavy with possibility. I glanced at Alex, who was staring at the floor, deep in thought. Could he understand? Could those words reach him, the way they reached me? As the circle wrapped up, I took a deep breath and approached him. "You doing okay?" My voice was softer than I intended, a tremor of vulnerability escaping. He shrugged, but that moment a break in the tough exterior nudged me toward courage. I wanted to reach him. I wanted to remind him we could put the pieces back together. "Do you remember when we used to catch fireflies in the backyard?" I asked, my mind racing to a simpler time. His eyes flickered with recognition, a flash of hesitance followed by a reluctant smile. "I remember. Mom, we were dorks," he said, laughter bubbling in the corners of his mouth. "Yeah, but those moments were everything to me." "You were everything," I replied, willing him to hear my heart. And then, the air turned thick, enveloping us in a sweet nostalgia tinged with uncertainty. I summoned the words that had been hidden too long. "Alex, there's something you need to know. Something I've been scared to tell you." He stiffened, waiting for the truth he had never asked for. "Before you were born," the sound of laughter nearby broke the moment, scattering our connection like leaves in the wind. Alex shifted away, his face mixed with curiosity and fear. The gap between us yawned wider. He rose, retreating to the back of the room, leaving me haunted by the words that remained unspoken. That night, sleep evaded me. The truth lingered like a ghost in the shadows, and I wondered whether it would tear us apart or weave us more intimately together. Every minute felt like raw urgency as I wrestled with the reality that I couldn't shield him from the past forever. Would revealing my truth mend the fracture between us? Or would it deepen the wounds we were only just beginning to heal? As dawn approached, breaking through the darkness, I knew I had to decide. The revelation loomed before us, promising either catharsis or chaos. I glanced at Alex, asleep and vulnerable. I felt both fear and strength coursing through me. The clock was ticking, and soon, I would have to face the moment of truth. What awaited us when the shadows were finally illuminated? Felt the world tilt around me, a sudden rush of disbelief swirling like leaves caught in a storm. The pain shot through me, sharp and unforgiving, yet it was the betrayal that hurt most. How had we arrived here? I sat up suddenly, my heart racing. The echoes of his words lingered, heavy and suffocating. My initial shock morphed into a haze of confusion and despair. Just hours before, Alex had been a child again, joyfully recollecting moments beneath the stars, when we were a team against the world. And now? Now, everything felt shattered. I pulled myself up from the floor, clutching the railing tightly, grounding myself against its rough texture. I needed to steady my trembling body and the chaotic thoughts swirling in my mind. Decluttering the debris piled up over years, I searched for clarity in what had just transpired. The community center felt like a long-lost sanctuary now. I thought of Frank's words, a promise of redemption, yet here I was, facing the bleak reality of our situation. I wondered if laughter could truly overshadow anger or resentment. Or was I simply chasing a fading echo of hope? I began to pace the small room. The walls closed in, and dread clawed at my chest. If only I could turn back time, erase the days that built this wall between us. I remembered Frank, the way he spoke with a softness that could only come from a heart that had weathered storms. His voice rang in my ears. "Nothing too broken to fix." Did that apply to us? Moments later, I heard a hesitant knock at my door. My heart sank. It was Alex. What did he want? Part of me just wanted to pull the covers over my head and shut the world out. But another part, the part that still believed that laughter might find its way back, urged me to open it. When I did, I saw him, arms crossed and eyes downcast, a fortress built from solitude. "Can I come in?" he asked, voice low. I nodded, stepping aside. He entered, and I could feel the tension thickening the air around us. I'm sorry," he started, halting and searching for words that felt too heavy to carry. "I didn't mean it. I don't know how to deal with what's happening." My heart flipped at his admission. Here was a crack in his armor, a glimpse of the struggle lying beneath the surface. "Neither do I admitted, my own voice a mere whisper. "We can figure this out together, but we have to talk. I'm ready to share." There was a moment of silence that stretched between us, a bridge unformed yet teeming with possibility. Alex lifted his gaze slowly, curiosity edging out the initial avoidance. This was our chance to start anew, to weave a thread of understanding through the chaos. About what you were going to tell me. As I caught his gaze, I realized this could be the moment where everything began to shift, a pivotal point that could change the course of our story. Would my truth be the key to unlocking the healing we desperately needed, or would it drive us further apart? Yes, I said slowly, my breaths coming fast with anticipation. The weight of uncertainty settled on my shoulders. But it won't be easy. He nodded, an understanding flickering in his eyes. And just like that, the game had changed. We were no longer just mother and son, but two people on the edge of something profound, waiting to dive into the depths of our shared reality. What lay beneath the surface? What did I need to reveal as we both stood on the brink of vulnerability? This was our moment, a chance for me to unravel the threads of my past and weave them into our future. I took a deep breath, ready to speak. Would he be ready to listen? Gathered the strength to rise and confront what lay ahead. My heart felt raw, but I knew I had to make sure this wasn't the end of our story. I could still breathe, still fight, and I was determined to reclaim our connection. Alex, I began, my voice trembling. I searched for the right words, the ones that could bridge the chasm between us. There is so much that has happened in my life that I haven't told you. Maybe if I share my truth, we can start to understand each other better. He shifted his weight, the tension in his shoulders easing just slightly, but the walls around him remained. What do you mean? He asked, curiosity creeping in alongside his uncertainty. I exhaled slowly. When I was young, I made choices. Choices that changed everything for us. I thought I was protecting you, but maybe I was just protecting myself. I paused, the memory swirling like ghosts in my mind, echoes of decisions made in the name of love and fear. What did you do? He pressed, his voice barely above a whisper. I closed my eyes, a visceral wave of regret crashing over me. I was scared, Alex. Scared of my own failures. Your father, he wasn't there. I felt all alone, and I let that loneliness shape my actions. I thought if I kept you sheltered, you'd be okay. But I see now how wrong that was. His brow furrowed, the lines of confusion etched deeper across his young face. You didn't trust me, did you? You shut me out. The weight of his accusation hit me. I thought it was for the best. I never meant to hurt you. I didn't realize I was suffocating you. I was trying to protect us both, and all it did was build a wall. The silence hung between us, both daunting and fragile. I could feel the walls trembling, as if they were straining to hear what we both needed to say. What do you want from me now? His voice trembled slightly, uncertainty giving way to an emerging vulnerability. I stepped closer, opening the door to memories and feelings that I had stowed away for far too long. I want us to be honest. I want to be the mother you deserve. I want you to know that it's okay to let me in, to share your struggles, your feelings. I may not have the answers, but I want us to face things together. His eyes glistened as he took in my words. It hurts, Mom. I don't even know if I can trust you. I understand, I said, my heart breaking as I watched him wrestle with his emotions. Trust is not given, it's earned. Every moment of honesty, of understanding, was a step towards rebuilding what we had broken. The truth lingered in the air, heavy and real. I had taken the first step, but the road ahead was still shrouded in possibility and doubt. Can we start over? I asked softly. Can we take this moment and build something new? He searched my face, looking for sincerity. I could see the flicker of hope battling with fear, reminding me of how fragile this journey was. What do you think will change? He asked, voice steadier now. I held out my hands, palms open. I can't promise perfection, but I can promise honesty. I will do my best to include you in my life, past, present, future. We may stumble, but together, we can find our way out of the darkness. He hesitated, then took a tentative step forward, reaching for my hand. The warmth of his small grasp sent a bolt of electricity through me. Okay, he nodded, his voice barely a whisper. But what if I'm not ready? We'll take it slow, I assured him, squeezing his hand. Just one step at a time. As we stood together, I felt a flicker of light in the darkness. Perhaps there was a chance for us yet. But would we have the courage to face the shadows that loomed ahead? Uncertainty and possibility danced in the air, drawing us closer as we embarked on a path fraught with challenges, but also filled with the promise of healing. Would this fragile bond hold as we ventured into the depths of our shared truths? Stumbled back into my own fears, grappling with the raw emotion that had just erupted between us. Alex. I started, but the words stuck in my throat. The innocence of my child had turned into something fierce and unrecognizable. I felt the enormous weight of responsibility settling heavily on my shoulders, driving the last remnants of warmth from my body. I didn't mean that, he yelled, fists clenched, voice breaking. From his expression, I knew he was battling inside, caught between wanting to express his pain and the fear of losing me completely. He glanced away, his tears pooling before spilling down his cheeks. Mom, you said you'd change. But how can I believe you? You're always telling me what to do. You treat me like I'm a kid. His frustration erupted with the ferocity of waves crashing against a rocky shore. I wanted to shield him, but the truth was, I needed to shield myself too. Rushing the words out, I tried to keep calm. I know I've made mistakes, Alex. Trust takes time, and I promise I'll earn it back. Just, give me a chance. My heart raced as I spoke, uncertainty spilling out with each sentence. The shadows of doubt crept back, whispering that I might lose him forever. He watched me, the silence stretching thin between us, a taut line of unresolved bitterness and budding love. I noticed his breathing. It was quick, the pulse of a child trapped in an adult's storm. Why did you do it? He asked suddenly, his voice low and raw. Why push me away? You made me feel like I didn't matter. I felt a thin breath of grief catch in my throat, squeezed by guilt. I didn't see how much you needed me. I was wrapped up in my own fears. I thought I was saving you, but I was wrong. I see that now, Alex. I see you. His body sagged just a little, the fight dissipating as the weight of my words settled around us. You're not the only one who is scared, he admitted, looking at the ground, his hands hanging limp by his sides. I don't know how to be without you. In that moment, my heart opened wide. The truth had cut through us, like a knife sharp enough to draw blood but not so deep as to sever. Together, we can figure it out. Every day, we can try. Even if it's hard, you have to let me help. Please? With trembling fingers, he took a step closer to me, closing the distance that felt miles apart just moments ago. He shifted his gaze back to mine, a glimmer of unguarded hope igniting within him. I don't want to hate you, but I really want you to understand how much this hurts. I nodded, swallowing the emotion that threatened to spill over. I promise I'll listen. I promise I will be here. He stepped forward, his body relaxed just a fraction, the warmth of healing encroaching upon us. As we stood, hands warm and connected, the echoes of our past began to fade a bit. But deep inside, I still felt the pangs of worry for what lay ahead. Could I withstand his pain? Would this new openness bring us closer or tear us apart again? Can we try? I asked. My voice shook as I sought solace in his eyes, the depths of his unbridled spirit inviting me to fight for us together. Let us try, he finally murmured, and in that heartbeat, I knew we were beginning to wade through the murky waters. But just then, a heavy silence hovered, and I felt the threat of something darker lurking in the corners. What if the past refused to let us go? What if the shadows of our family history would come knocking again? As I looked into my son's eyes, a chilling thought overtook me. What if our battle for trust was only just beginning? Could hardly breathe. The moment hung thick with tension, my heart pounding in my chest like a caged animal desperate to escape. How had we gotten here? One minute we were just two people trying to understand each other, and the next, we were standing on the edge of an abyss. I staggered back, the world around me spinning from the dual force of his words and my own disbelief. Alex! I cried, my voice thinner than I intended. You don't mean that. He was shaking his head, his expression a tangled mess of anger and sorrow. I do mean it. You make me feel like I'm invisible. Like nothing I do matters. How am I supposed to trust you when you never listen? Each word felt like a jab, each accusation cutting deeper than the last. I wanted to reach out, but the emotional distance still felt immense. I hear you, Alex. I hear you, and I'm sorry. I really am. The silence that filled the space between us was deafening. I had entered into a battle, but instead of rallying for a resolution, we had both retreated to trenches of heartache, armed with our own fears. It wasn't just his anger I had to combat, it was the hurt lurking beneath it, the fears both of us held tightly. I just want a mom who cares. He clenched his fists tighter, trying to fight the tears that threatened to spill over again. Is that too much to ask? The question hung heavy in the air, and for the first time I felt the ground beneath me shift. Guilt washed over me as I thought about the countless times I had let my own storms obscure the view of his sunny days. No. It's not too much to ask. You deserve a whole lot more than I've been giving you, I admitted, tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. You deserve my love and attention every single day. He breathed heavily, the words bouncing around in his mind. I could see the conflict playing out in his eyes, the flickering light of hope waging war against the shadows of resentment. But how can I believe that now? You've always chosen your fears over me. My heart constricted at his truth. It wasn't just fear I had chosen, it had been an avalanche of pain wrapped in my own memories. I know I've got a lot to make up for. I'm willing to do the work, Alex, I swear. He hesitated, uncertainty flickering across his features, as if he was weighing my intentions on a scale that had tipped too far in one direction for too long. You say that, but how do I know you won't try to push me away again? I felt the weight of trust hanging between us, delicate and fragile. You'll know because I'm standing here, right now. No walls up, just me and my heart. With a shaky breath, I took a step forward, holding out my hand. It felt monumental, as if I was offering not just my hand but a piece of my soul. Will you take it? Will you let me show you that I can be the mom you need? He blinked, taking in the sincerity in my eyes. Slowly, he took a cautious step forward and lifted his hand, letting it rest in mine. The warmth of connection spread between us, a flicker of hope igniting within our grip, but just as relief washed over me, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I felt a gnawing anxiety ripple through me, an uninvited thought creeping in. What if this was a distraction from the real battle we had yet to face? I pulled my phone out, my heart racing as I saw an unknown number flashing on the screen. Who could that be? Alex watched me, confusion and desperation mingling in his gaze. Mom, who is it? I swallowed hard, my hand shaking slightly. The moment was eerily tranquil, but I could sense a storm brewing in the distance. I hesitated, looking into my son's eyes, knowing that our journey was far from finished. Let us find out, I said softly, pressing the answer button, hoping it wouldn't unravel the fragile thread we'd just begun to weave. Mom, who is it? Alex asked again, urgency creeping into his voice. My finger danced hesitantly over the screen while my heart wrestled with the tension hanging between us. Could this be the voice that would either shatter our fragile moment or help us rebuild it? There's only one way to find out, I replied, feeling that familiar knot of anxiety tighten in my chest. Taking a deep breath, I pressed the button. Hello? I spoke, my voice barely above a whisper, almost as if I were afraid that breathing too loudly might disrupt the delicate balance we had just established. There was a pause on the line. Is this Sarah? The voice was deep, gravelly, like it carried years of unanswered questions. Yes, this is Sarah. Who is calling? Another pause, but this one felt weighted, like the phone call held more than just a name. It's Aaron. My breath caught in my throat. Aaron? I hadn't heard from him in years. Aaron? I repeated, disbelief weaving through my confusion. Why are you calling now? I know it's been a long time, he said, his tone softer now but still filled with an edge of something unresolved. But I need to talk to you. It's important. Alex's eyes widened, uncertainty flashing across his face as he grasped the seriousness of the situation. He moved closer, trying to catch a glimpse of my expression. I could feel his energy shifting, awareness creeping in, something raw and vulnerable. "Mom?" he whispered, his voice a fragile thread connecting us in this moment of chaos. "Just a second," I urged, still focused on the phone call, my heart battling between the past and the present. "What is so important that we couldn't talk about it years ago?" "I've found something," Aaron said, his voice wavering. "Something that might change everything you thought you knew about your family, about me." His words dropped like stones into the silence that hung heavy between us. Change. It was a word loaded with both fear and promise. I looked at Alex, his face scrunched with worry, teeth biting into his bottom lip, as if sensing the tension radiating through the air. "Can we meet?" Aaron continued, his voice thick with desperation. I hesitated. "Meet? You think I'd just drop everything to see you after all this time? I didn't even know where you were." "Please, Sarah. I'm asking for one chance to explain. I need to see you, and I'm sure you need to hear what I have to say." Part of me wanted to scream, to demand why he had the right to waltz back in like this. The other part felt a strange tickle of curiosity that left my heart racing. What could he possibly have to say? And would it hurt more than it could heal? "I don't know," I murmured, a mixture of anger and confusion surging up within me. I looked down at Alex. He was still watching me, his face uncertain. "What's going on, Mom?" he asked more urgently. The tremble in his voice was palpable. "Who is that?" It's someone from my past," I stammered, torn between the tension of this phone call and the fragile moment we just started to build. Aaron's voice filled the silence again. "Just think about it. I'll wait for your call." The line went dead. I stood in the discord of this swirl of emotions, half of me filled with the weight of the past and the other half needing to protect the present, just starting to mend with Alex. "Mom?" he pressed, and I could see the tension in him, a desperate inquiry searching for clarity. I took a shaky breath, trying to organize my thoughts. I need to think." I paused, knowing I needed to process this without letting my past disrupt our fragile present. But how could I move forward in the darkness of what was about to unfold? "Why now?" I whispered almost to myself. As Alex looked at me, I could see confusion and worry shrouding his young features. The weight of my unresolved history was pressing down on us, for both of us. I could almost feel the shadows of the past creeping back in, threatening to crush the light. I leaned in closer to him, determined to be the strong one as I suppressed my hesitation. In that moment, I knew we would have to face whatever was coming together. "Can we talk?" I asked, seeking to wrap us in the safe cocoon we had just begun to weave. But would the shadows of my past ever let us truly begin? Felt the air leave my lungs in a rush. The words hung in my ears like a haunting melody, echoing what was once a place of safety and love. How had it come to this? My heart raced, fear mingling with disbelief as I processed the raw explosion of my son's anger. "Alex," my voice trembled as I tried to meet his gaze, but he turned away, his shoulders shaking with suppressed emotion. He was hurting, and I could see it clearly now. All the tension that had been building up between us over the past few months had finally erupted, and I was left standing in the wreckage of our connection. "Why would you say that?" I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. He didn't respond right away. Instead, he rubbed his eyes with the back of his hand, a gesture so innocent yet so loaded with disappointment. "You don't listen to me, you never have. You're always just there, but not here. It doesn't matter how many times I try to talk to you." His words pierced through me like arrows, each one hitting a mark I had tried to ignore. I had been so caught up in my own struggles, my own ghosts, that I had lost sight of the most important thing: him. "Alex, please," I reached out, but he stepped back. It was as if a chasm had opened between us, filled with hurt and unspoken fears. "You don't get to just act like everything is fine," he said, his voice rising, filled with a cocktail of frustration and sadness that felt all too familiar. The phone call from Aaron echoed in my mind, intertwining with the storm that raged in front of me. I realized, painfully, that my unresolved past was suffocating our present. I know I've made mistakes. I'm trying to be better, I swear, I pleaded, my hands outstretched toward him as if reaching for a lifeline. What do you want me to say, Mom? That it's okay for you to just forget everything? Nothing changes? You keep talking about fixing things, but how can I believe you? His words were a slap in the face, raw and unfiltered. My heart ached, but under the hurt, something flickered hope. I understood now, this wasn't just about me. It was about him, about us. I want you to know that I'm here for you, I said slowly, trying to keep my voice steady amid the tremors of my heart. I just didn't know how to handle everything. I'm scared too, Alex. He paused, confusion washing over his features. I rushed forward, needing to break through the barrier he had put up. I'm so sorry for everything. I will try to listen. I promise. Just let me in. For a moment, we stood in silence, the weight of my admission hanging thick between us. I could see him grappling with my words, as if they were foreign and terrifying. Then his facade began to crack, and I felt a shift. I just feel so alone, and it's like you don't see me. Tears brimmed in his eyes, and I felt my own heart lurch. You're not alone, Alex. I'm here. I reached for him again, and this time, he stepped closer, the dividing line starting to blur. Promise you'll try? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper, hope flickering amidst the rubble of our argument. Promise, I replied, my heart swelling with determination. In that moment, we took a small but significant step forward, slowly beginning to untangle the mess of our lives. But even as I savored this tentative bridge repairing the cracks, the thought of Aaron lingered heavy at the back of my mind. What had he found? What could he possibly share that would shake the very foundation of my world? And just like that, the shadows hovered once again, whispering threats of the past while hinting at revelations that could drown us both. How could I face them, and Alex too? With that question burning bright in my mind, I knew that the real battle was yet to come. Stood there, trembling, feeling like the walls around me were closing in. The sting of his words still echoed in my ears, but they were drowned out by the flood of regret that surged through my veins. How had we allowed it to come to this level of anger where, in a moment of fury, he could wish me harm? I felt a heaviness in my chest, a mix of disbelief and guilt. This wasn't just about an argument, it was about years of pain and unaddressed issues, all bubbling to the surface. My mind raced, seeking answers, but all I could see was his face twisted with anger, a reflection of everything I had failed to fix. Stay away from me. His voice rang in my head, sharp and laden with bitterness. I was a mother, but right now, I felt like a stranger to my own son. Had I really been that absent? With a shaky breath, I turned away, feeling a familiar tightening knot in my stomach. I needed to think, to figure out how we had spiraled into this chaos. There was a small solace in knowing Alex was hurt too, but that didn't ease the dread pooling inside me. Where do I even start to mend something so broken? I pulled my phone from my pocket, scrolling through messages, looking for something, anything, that might help me make sense of all this. That's when the message from Aaron flashed across the screen again, his name a sudden reminder of the unopened can of troubles I'd been avoiding. Can we talk? I found something important. My heart raced. What could he possibly have to say that would turn the tide of my already turbulent life? It was as if my past was demanding its attention all at once, overwhelming me with urgency. I took a step back and rubbed my temples, battling the cramp of anxiety that squeezed my thoughts. Could I really meet with him, knowing what I faced? Part of me felt like avoiding it altogether, a choice steeped in denial. But that choice would leave me trapped, hiding from whatever truth awaited me and limiting the chance to reach Alex again. Deep down, I knew avoiding Aaron wouldn't make him go away. It wouldn't erase the fact that past decisions always had a way of creeping back into the present. I needed to deal with it, not just for me, but for Alex. Hey, can we talk? I murmured into the darkness, still processing everything. My voice felt small against the echo of our argument. Alex looked back at me, uncertainty flickering behind his eyes. Do you mean it? You'll really listen? I nodded slowly, swallowing the fear clawing at my throat. Yes. I'll listen. We'll figure this out together. But as those words left my lips, my heart sank into uncertainty, knowing that past shadows wouldn't simply vanish with promises. What if everything I find out just changes the way you see me? He asked, apprehension lacing his voice. I took a deep breath, wishing I could wipe away his fears with a single wave of my hand. Then I'll adjust. No matter what it is, we're in this together. There was a flicker of hope in his eyes, but it was fragile, like a candle dancing in the wind. Just then, the phone buzzed in my pocket, jolting me back to reality. I knew Aaron was waiting. I could ignore the message, but avoiding it would be like putting a bandage over a deep wound, only postponing the inevitable pain. Alex, I said, deciding right then I needed to be transparent. I have to meet Aaron. There is something I need to address. I don't want to keep secrets from you. He looked torn, distrustful, and I could feel my own heart sinking with his struggle. Just promise me it won't change what we're trying to do here, he said, the rawness of his voice clashing with my own turmoil. I promise. But we need to be ready for anything, I replied, bracing myself. As I stepped to the door, I realized this was just the beginning. What would I learn from Aaron? Would it tear us apart or finally stitch us back together? With my heart in my throat, I took the first step into the unknown, hoping that, somehow, we would emerge stronger. The day had finally arrived, the day to face the truth whatever it entailed. Sarah stood in front of the mirror, steadying her breath. The reflection staring back was a mix of determination and fear. She was ready to uncover the forgotten past with Aaron, but she couldn't shake the weight of uncertainty about how it might change everything: her relationship with Alex, the fragile foundation they had begun to rebuild. As she left the house, Alex stood by the kitchen table, one hand gripping a chair's backrest, the other nervously tapping against the wood. Are you sure about this, Mom? He asked, worry etched across his youthful features. I need to do this, Alex. Not just for me, but for us, she replied softly, feeling the knot in her stomach tighten. You promise to come back? His voice quivered, laden with a weight that pierced her heart. I promise, she said, hoping the reassurance would hold true. She stepped into the warm sunlight, the day alive with laughter and chatter while her own heart was heavy with dread. Arriving at the local cafe where Aaron had asked to meet felt surreal. She walked in, eyes scanning for a familiar figure. The last time they met had been years ago, a painful farewell that still left scars. As she approached the small table in the corner, Aaron's gaze met hers. Sarah. His voice was thick, laced with a hesitation that echoed her own. Thank you for coming. She sat, crossing her arms protectively. What is so important that we had to meet? Aaron sighed, a deep frown creasing his brow. I found something about your family, things I should have told you before. It's about your dad. Her heart raced, memories flooding her mind. The man whose absence had shaped so much of her life, the anger, the fear, and the numbness. What do you mean? She pressed, urgency bubbling beneath her surface. There are truths you don't know, secrets tied to his choices that extend far beyond what you've understood. It wasn't just about him leaving, Sarah. It's deeper than that. She could feel the room spinning at the thought. The journey she had built with Alex felt fragile, ready to shatter. How could anything you say change my past? No one ever told you that the reason he left he didn't just vanish. He felt trapped, and he had debts. Things spiraled out of control. I should have protected you from that knowledge. Anger mixed with confusion. So you shielded me by lying? By taking the truth away? Aaron looked genuinely pained. I thought it was for the better. I was trying to protect you both. She felt a swelling tide of sorrow envelop her, mixing seamlessly with rage. How much had she endured for obligations that weren't even hers? I can't change what happened before, Aaron repeated. But I needed you to understand there were layers to his leaving, things neither of us couldn't see at the time. The pain ditched the paralyzing weight of denial, and in its place grew a raw sense of revelation. What if knowing the truth only brings more hurt? Maybe, he admitted, voice tinged with sorrow. But you deserve to know the real story, not just the ghost of a man who seemed to vanish into thin air. And maybe, it will help you understand your own choices, the walls you've been building with Alex. Her heart clenched. The thought of Alex loomed large, and she couldn't ignore how her choices had reflected their strife. I need to talk to him, she said, her voice growing steadier. Maybe their shared struggle could lead to healing, not just for her son, but for herself as well. Standing up, she left the cafe, feeling lighter but armed with burdens past truths no longer hidden, waiting to be shared with Alex. When she returned home, Alex was on the couch, playing a game but distracted. His eyes flickered up, wary as she stepped into the living room. Did you find out what you needed? In his gaze, she recognized the depth of hope battling against fear. I did. There is so much you don't know about our family. It's time we talked again, she said, heart racing at the potential of this new conversation. About what? He asked. Warily. About your grandfather, about the past, and why things were the way they were. Understanding dawned in his eyes, caution slipping away to curiosity. Can you tell me? I will. But remember, sometimes understanding hurts. Yet, we're in this together. No more walls, she promised, her voice steady. The warmth of his smile shattered the remnants of doubt. Okay. I'm ready, he said, taking a step toward her. And with that, they began reconstructing their story, one honest word at a time. We'll get through this, she replied, and at that moment, they both believed in that simple exchange, they commenced a journey of hope and healing. The shadows of the past might still linger, but together, they would find their way back into the light. Don't let this moment slip away. You need to subscribe now to stay updated with our next heartwarming stories filled with lessons about family, love, and healing. Leave a like now to support the content you love. It helps the algorithm bring more inspiring moments to our community. Comment below about your own transformative experiences, and let us connect deeper. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel the strength of transformation and the power of family. You all know it's important to support our community by taking these actions.